is you can argue him or Justin Jefferson are two best wide receivers in all of the NFL. CeeDee Lamb was looking for that big contract over the last couple of weeks after Justin Jefferson received his contract by the Minnesota Vikings. You look at CeeDee Lamb and you look at the talent that he brings to the table. And I've said this when he was drafted. I remember him when he was playing for Oklahoma. I know that Beeve was not very excited when the Cowboys drafted him at number 17, where he fell in the draft, which made no sense because I thought he was a top 5 prospect at the time. CeeDee Lamb has really developed into a superstar player at his position. And when you quote that type of player, and he's a guy that doesn't go out there. He's not a flashy person. He's not that type of player. He doesn't go out there and speak to the press and shoot down everybody else around him and speaks about how great he is. He doesn't say that. He doesn't go out there and do that. He plays for the Cowboys, obviously center stage. As we all know, it's America's fan. I don't know why everybody calls him the Cowboy fans, the American fan. But hey, you know what? The Cowboys over the last couple of years have not really gotten over the hump in the playoffs. And everybody wants to blame Dak Prescott. But Jerry Jones obviously overpays players, Zeke Elliott being one of them. He brings them back after they decided to part ways with him after 2 years? He jumps from one team to another, and he comes back to the Dallas Cowboys, making, I think, $2 million or whatever, $2.5 million this year, where he was making 16. He was the highest paid running back in the NFL. Jerry Jones has really hurt this team and their salary cap. He's overpaid players like DeMarcus Lawrence, who should not be paid top dollar for a defensive lineman. Over the years, he's paid guys that couldn't stay healthy. Great players couldn't stay healthy. And that is the problem right now on why the Cowboys can't get over the hump. Everybody wants to blame everybody else. The Cowboy fans are one of the people, or most of the reasons why people love to point their fingers at the Dallas Cowboys, because the Dallas Cowboy fans think that they're better than they really are. But I don't think it has anything to do with the fans. It has something to do with ownership. It has something to do with the execs. They got it right this time. CeeDee Lamb, who really didn't have much of a preseason, didn't have much of an OTA. Could it affect him? Could it injure him early in the season? We've seen this happen to wide receivers. They sit out. They're not practicing. They're not working out with their teammates. And then they get their contract. They come in, and then 1-2 games in a season, they hurt their hamstring, they hurt their ankle, and they're out a significant amount of time because their bodies are not built for the regular season. That is the only thing that could hurt the Cowboys on waiting so long to give CeeDee Lamb the contract that he well deserved. But the Cowboys right now, even having CeeDee Lamb, they have no depth. And that is going to be a big problem this season. Because for years, the Dallas Cowboys have been looking for that second guy. Since they really decided to part ways with Amari Cooper. They moved him, they traded him to the Browns because they knew that a couple of years later, they were going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb top dollar. So what they did was move Amari Cooper, bring in some, prospects and, draft stock. Did it work? It didn't work for them because they have not replaced Amari Cooper. They've tried to bring in veterans. It hasn't worked. They tried to bring in youngsters to play at that position. It hasn't worked. CeeDee Lamb is the only weapon the Dallas Cowboys have. I don't want to hear about Ferguson. Ferguson had a nice year last year. He's a good, competent tight end. Is he a great tight end? He's not. And we have to see him do it back-to-back years. Ferguson's been in a league for how many years? 3, 4 years? He's been in a league for a while. It's not like nobody knew who he was. And everybody got to know who he was this year because of who he's dating. That's about it. Now, he had a good season, but the Cowboys need more than that. You're playing in the NFC East. Yes, the Giants are nothing to bark about right now. But even the Giants, they have one weapon. That's what makes the Cowboys so interesting. And everybody, all the Cowboy fans want to attack Dak Prescott, that he's horrible. Could you imagine having one weapon in CeeDee Lamb for the last 2.5, 3 years and being one of the best offenses in all of the NFL? Could you imagine that? Just think about that. For all you Cowboy fans that can't stand Dak Prescott, who the Cowboys have not really given him or haven't given him any top-end players besides CeeDee Lamb. Just think about that. Now, I'm not trying to blow the Cowboys up, and I'm not reading. I don't even know what Keith is writing right now. And he could say that Dak sucks. Dak does not suck. How many quarterbacks, and again, I'm going to go back to Dak Prescott, how many quarterbacks are successful in the playoffs? How many quarterbacks over the years, including Matthew Stafford, who was with the Detroit Lions, how long did it take Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl? It took a trade. Now, will the Cowboys decide to part ways with Dak Prescott? If Dak goes to another team that's already built for the playoffs and actually gives him a multiple amount of weapons, hey, maybe Dak wins a championship with that team. Because I look at Dak's career the same way I look at Matthew Stafford's career. A guy that's never going to get over the hump until he leaves that organization, because that organization's been nothing but a cancer. Now, CeeDee Lamb, to me, still, last year was the best wide receiver in football. You could argue Tyreek Hill was right there with him. But to me, what CeeDee Lamb did last year with practically nothing around him on a Cowboy team that still was rated high offensively only because of him, he did amazing things. Absolutely amazing things that a wide receiver over the last, 25 years, a Cowboy player has never done. And as a matter of fact, he's the first Cowboy to ever do what he did in a regular season. Michael Irvin, as great as he was, never put up the numbers that CeeDee Lamb put up last year. So he deserves the money. Now, as far as Shannon Sharpe is concerned, Shannon Sharpe is not a GM. He's not an owner. He's a great analyst when it comes to personality and going out there. He does his show over there on YouTube. It's putting up over millions and millions of viewers every single time he posts something up. I think Shannon Sharpe is sensational when it comes to, his professionalism and his personality. He doesn't know anything about being a GM. He doesn't know anything about being an owner. So for him to take shots at Jerry Jones is ridiculous. Now, is Jerry Jones a good GM? Is he a good owner? He's a good owner because he likes to overpay players. So no player is going to be complaining about that. He still opens his pockets and pays his players. And he pays his own players. He doesn't really like to go out there and overpay for other teams' players. That's something I got to give Jerry Jones a lot of credit for. But he pays players or players that he shouldn't be paying the money that he is paying them when he knows there's a salary cap and it could set his team back 10 to 12 years, which it has. And that's why the Cowboys have not gotten over the hump. And that's why the NFC is not going to go through Dallas this year. And it's not going to go through Dallas in the next couple of years because they've got nothing but one player in CeeDee Lamb that's going to go up there and get the ball.